finally cutting that grass, I see.
If someone had returned my mower when they said they were going to, I would have done it weeks ago.
Whoa, I see the mower isn't the only thing running hot.
Opening line, the best one yet. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk, and I'm here to talk to you about Family Guy. Or more specifically, Stewie's arch nemesis. Oh, so we're talking about Bertram? Wait, didn't I make a video about him like way back when? No, Kitty, not Bertram. You sure? I'm pretty sure that was the first time you appeared in a video Catherine outside of that Squilliam video. Strange, I thought he was killed off. Kitty, it's not Bertram, it's Doug. So, Bertram came back to life and got a new identity? Just roll the clip, oh my god.
Damn it, I can't! Uppies!
Adios, Doug.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Question, how do you waste Chris Parnell that badly? I mean, surely he gets better, right? No, he doesn't. Okay, so long intro aside, yeah, we're discussing Doug. You guys actually got me to binge watch Modern Family Guy since I knew nothing about this dude prior to making this video. And nowadays, the only time I ever really do watch Modern Family Guy outside of reviews, and even then it's only probably like one episode, is when I stay at hotels during cons and I only have cable. So this took some serious effort on my part, just to let you know. Now, many long-running shows tend to add characters throughout their runs, in order to keep things interesting, and hey, creativity's a process and new ideas always do pop up. But because of how they're integrated, many can feel like, oh yeah, we just threw stuff at the wall to see what would stick. And even if it's not sticking, we're gonna keep shoving it down your throat. For instance, PC Principal is one of the most memorable characters from the later seasons of South Park. He's funny, and he even got a lot of added focus, gaining a girlfriend and a few kids. Heck, Rogu from American Dad is another such example, being a funny gag who doesn't overstay his welcome. But then you get characters like basically every addition to Fairly Odd Parents who isn't Perry, or in American Dad terms, you get Billy.
You left an empty case in here. I don't have X-ray vision.
Billy, sometimes you just make me so mad.
Actually, Billy is a pretty good comparison to Doug, I feel. A character who was funny as maybe a one-timer, if even that, but who for one reason or another got the Elijah Michelson treatment. And he ended up massively overstaying his welcome and being generally unfunny and annoying, going on for way too long. Like, he's probably my least favorite character overall in the show. At least with Billy, I get why he's around, since Dr. Calgary is a pretty funny character, and Alan Tudyk is a precious gift from heaven.
By the way, can I offer you a liqueur or something? Billy! Get our guest a liqueur!
And Resident Alien is a really great show you should check out, especially if you're neurodivergent. But Doug, he's a poor replacement for Bertram, and you kinda have to wonder, did the crew from Family Guy owe Chris Parnell a favor? Or considering all the episodes involving Doug involve blackmail, does he have dirt on them? But okay, why doesn't Doug work? Well, let's discuss. Now, one good thing I do like about the modern seasons of Family Guy is their focus on expanding on the lives of the other characters, how they just don't limit themselves to Spooner Street anymore. Even Peter's office has a whole array of characters. I like that after Carrie Fisher died, they didn't just get rid of it, they tried to keep it. Yeah, considering Principal Shepard, it's not always the best, but I will give them an E for effort. They are trying. One thing they do expand on here is making Stewie's preschool an added focus, which is both good and bad. Since outside of Doug and the teacher who totally isn't voiced by Haley, there aren't any named characters there. And this is later season Stewie we're talking about. So rather than showing Stewie doesn't fit in with his classmates because he's an evil genius who has poor social skills, since he's an awkward kid who comes from a broken home or he thinks he's better than everybody else, well, they don't do that. Instead, he just doesn't fit in because he's a self-conscious gay baby. Doug first appears in the episode Island Adventure as a quick cameo. For context, the Griffins, primarily Peter, cleared out the garage by throwing things away, and one of the things they tossed was Stewie's tricycle, aka his big wheel.
Wait, you're throwing away Stewie's big wheel?
Relax, it's not even his. I took it from a front lawn after a rainstorm.
Oh, well, are you gonna find him another one then? No. You suck as a father, Peter. Shortly after, Stewie goes outside and runs into Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, Stewie. Taking the big wheel out for a spin?
Yep, where are you headed?
Oh, I was just gonna drive through some puddles and see how long my tracks stay wet.
Okay, who the hell are you? Why should I care about you? Off the bat, I think one problem with Doug is the introduction, or lack thereof. He has no introduction, it's like he's always been there. I wouldn't be surprised if he was likely only supposed to appear here, just as a quick joke. Like, haha, Stewie cares what some random cool kid thinks of him. Just saying, Chris Parnell voicing him really isn't a factor. It's a Family Guy and American Dad tradition that celebrities appear, but 9 times out of 10 they appear in quick cameos or as nameless side characters. Like they drag Ben Stiller to the studio to just record like 1 or 2 lines. I mean, come on, Mae Whitman was in dozens of episodes in both shows and there has never been any fanfare. So it's pretty on brand for them to have Chris Parnell, a high-profile VA, appear as this one random dude. Plus, H. John Benjamin is a voice actor on Family Guy, even if Carl's probably my other least favorite character, and he has worked with Chris Parnell on at least 3 or 4 shows to my knowledge. It's not such a stretch to think they wouldn't be able to get him, especially since Family Guy and shows that Chris Parnell are on the same network. But this is all Doug does here. His main purpose is just to get the plot started, since Stewie is invited to go ride his tricycle, and Stewie of course has to go look for it, only to realize it's gone, which means he and Brian have to travel to the ends of the earth to retrieve it. Oh, and since I like to include a teeny tiny bit of Brian Griffin hatred in my videos, he spent the morning making mud pies on Quagmire's lawn, hence why he did nothing about this tricycle.
Boy, I tell you, no better way to start your day than a morning dump in a neighbor's yard.
Come on, Brian.
Brian, why did you do that? You have your own lawn. Or, you know what? You're anthropomorphic. Go use a toilet. Just saying, it's my personal theory that Doug was probably only meant to appear like once, if at that. If he was meant to be a bigger deal, I think he'd likely have gotten a whole episode to himself. Or they would have done something like reveal he was really the one who took the tricycle. Or he'd go on said adventure with Stewie and Brian to retrieve said tricycle. But because there is no introduction, that just makes him all the more frustrating. Like, I don't care about you, what's the point? Think of that Powerpuff Girls reboot character who was a self-insert, like it feels like that a little bit. However, to be fair, as a writer myself, I do understand the feeling of, oh, I like this character, even if they're only meant to appear super quick. I feel I can do more with him, even expand them. Like, I don't know you, but I want to. Let's tell a story together. Sorry, it sounds contradictory, but I get the thought process. Doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it, but I have done that for a few characters. One story I'm writing, the characters were only supposed to get a quick cameo like Doug, but I liked them so much that I ended up giving them their own like little series. And it's my writing and nobody can rate it, so I'm allowed to be a giant hypocrite if I want to. Or Wander Over Yonder, Lord Hater was blocked from another project that Craig McCracken did, so this isn't just limited to Seth MacFarlane shows. But apparently the writers thought Doug was a big enough deal to get the Elijah Michelson treatment. Which, if you don't know because you didn't watch Vampire Diaries, it's when a character who is meant to have a small role, or more than likely only appear once, well, the crew likes them so much, as in they have fun writing for them or seeing the actor's performance, that they greatly expand their presence and their role, for better or for worse. This is true of PC Principal, who was meant to only appear in one episode and then be killed off at the end, but Matt and Trey loved him so much that he survives to this day. So again, I'm noticing similarities, since I'm likely repeating myself, but I do get why they kept PC Principal over Doug. PC Principal is a flat character, but he was meant to satirize politically correct culture, and in a show like South Park, there's so much you can do with him or say about him, one episode wouldn't be enough. Doug, in most of his appearances, unfortunately, I think one episode was enough. He's not as interesting, I hate to say, to warrant this extra screen time, or Stewie's admiration of him. Maybe I could see him being Stewie's crush, but I don't think Doug is a good enough antagonist, which sucks because if there's anything Stewie's lacking nowadays, it's a good antagonist. Another kid on his level, and he really hasn't had one in a while, I don't think. Honestly, beyond Quagmire versus Brian, it feels like none of the Griffins have really had a good rival or recurring rival since they wrote off James Woods. But okay, maybe they realized this and they decided to change up Doug, make him more aerodynamic. I mean, have you ever watched Vampire Diaries? Elijah Michelson in his first appearance was drastically different. Yeah, no. In Doug's next appearance, moving in Principal Shepard's song, same deal. Stewie's out on the lawn, he's playing with his toy, and he runs into Doug. What a shocker. This time, Doug needs to borrow a shovel to dig to China?
But speaking of, I need to borrow a shovel. I'm digging a hole.
A hole? Where are you going? China?
That's the hope.
All right, well, I'll be checking your Instagram.
Wait, I wasn't the only kid who tried to do that? I'm surprised this wasn't a South Park episode considering A Ladder to Heaven.
Whoa, careful! That's how God makes angels!
But alright, by this point, Doug isn't an antagonist. Yet. He's just another baby that Stewie emulates, who's occasionally there, so they can be like, hey, look, La Familia guy, aka the Godfather episode, is the first time Doug is a true antagonist. And I hate to say it, it's still weird how he's introduced as such, because he really gets no introduction. Yes, Doug needed more of an introduction, but how did Stewie go from loving this kid to to straight up hating him overnight. I feel like this should have been its own episode or subplot. Like, Stewie emulates him at school and he gets invited to the party, and it turns out he's really a colossal jerk. Also...
Okay. So your mom's still taking you to the ladies' room to go pee-pee?
Actually, yes.
Yeah, me too. I don't like the men's room.
You don't like the men's room? As an AFAB, I love the men's room. It's clean, it smells different, and there's never a line. And funny story, after that bathroom bill in North Carolina, I was like 15 or 16 around that time, I peed in the men's room at a Chick-fil-A. Activism! The Griffins attend Susie Swanson's baptism, and Doug, for some reason, is there, which I have questions about. Just saying, it's fine to have a rival character, but there needs to be a reason for them to be there. Doug doesn't know any of these people personally to warrant this, I feel. Stewie and Susie aren't in the same school to my knowledge. It just feels like he's there for no reason.
P of systems integration or something?
What was that, Stewie? I was invited to sit at the first grade table.
What? How'd you get that invite?
Doug makes fun of Stewie for being a baby, talking about the pot, calling the kettle black. Oh, and Doug is invited to sit at the first grade table, unlike Stewie, even though I guess you can justify it in this case as Doug is a guest and Stewie's practically family.
What does the D stand for? Divorced?
What?
Stewie, my parents are trying to make it work.
Gee, Stewie, they're doing their best.
Doug, sweetie, I'm just saying this because I don't like you. Trying to make it work is code word for divorced. That's the sound of a divorce, darling. Or they're still together, but romantically they're donezo, and once you go away to college, you'll be celebrating Thanksgiving at 2 separate houses. Did you not just see that huge string of moral oral videos I made? On the bright side, at least Stewie gets a bunch of Italian books and cookies. We Italians make the best books and cookies. Actually, Kitty Pryde ate them.
I like having those Stella D'Oro breakfast cookies.
Oh, I ate those. Sorry.
No problem, Brian. No problem at all. Hey, what do you say you and I do a little fishing?
Brian Griffin. Catherine, how am I not surprised? You know what? I don't care for Brian Griffin. I just never cared for Brian Griffin. He simply insists upon himself. He has to die. I'm sorry. Too late.
Peter, I just got a call from the school. When is Chris coming back?
Not for a while. He moved in with his girlfriend.
Did not care for him. The marrying kind, after Stewie divorces his mail-order bride, Doug is right there to rub in his face that he's miserable, and the bachelor life is lit.
Just me, my big wheel, and a doll I draw private parts on. I like to put rocks in cups, Stewie. You can't really do that with some gnat buzzing in your ear.
Which, as somebody who is borderline arrow, I agree. But wrong time, dude.
God, he's so cool, I hate it.
No he ain't. No, he ain't. Okay, I guess I can now explain why I think Doug doesn't work as a rival to Stewie. Send in Stewie Please sort of rebooted modern Stewie, and it feels like their thesis going forward by saying that Stewie ultimately doesn't fit in with the kids in his class and therefore other kids his age, to the point where he started bullying at least one of them to ensure they don't get any ideas, since he's lonely and he's insecure.
Nobody here likes me, Dr. Pritchfield. I try to fit in with the other boys, but they won't play with me, and I don't have any friends, and I have nobody to eat lunch with.
The episode sort of split the fan base down the middle, since some people wanted Stewie to be evil, others like the new him just fine, and the writers just can't find a happy medium so they can't please everyone. With Doug, it feels like they tried taking the criticism they got from that episode and expanding him, so they could be like, no, we didn't make up any of this. We didn't just do this for drama or Emmy points. Look, Stewie's a total loser now, can't you see it?
I only pushed Tyler down the stairs because I like him, and I'm afraid he won't like me back. And not like him. I'm not gay. This whole thing isn't because I'm gay, so calm down.
Doug feels like that kid Stewie pushed down the stairs. Like, he admired him so much that he acted evil in front of him. And you know what? I'm actually surprised they didn't go this route, since they could have used that as to why he hates Stewie. The thing is, well, I'm not a super huge fan of it, since a lot of the time it hurts to see Stewie in pain like that, and just for one reason or another, not fight back, because they want to make jokes about this self-insert. And like I said, this is one of those times you have to forget Stewie is an evil genius, so if Doug pisses them off, he could just whip out a super gun and kick his ass or something. That was another reason I liked Penelope. At least with Penelope, they still did kid stuff, but there was the understanding that if the mood struck her, she could kill anybody Stewie loved. There even was a conflict at the end where he had to prevent her from killing Brian.
Penelope, I can't let you do this. Stewie, she's 1 year old. I think I can handle this myself. All right, Stewie, tag in.
Oh, why, Stewie? With Olivia, they did little kid things together, like playing house, and then Stewie paid her and her boyfriend back in kind by being evil and burning down said house.
Yeah,
I'll be fine. Is that smoke?
Idea for a farce. Cheating wife and pompous ass burned alive.
With Doug, I think there's only one episode where he's outright evil, as in evil on Stewie's level, and that's probably the only time I actually did like him, and I kind of wonder, why wasn't he like this the whole time? But beyond that, there's nothing to him. There's nothing likable about him the same way there was with Stewie's other rivals, where even though they are antagonists, they're fun in their own right. He's just a random baby Stewie happens to admire for reasons. Reasons that, considering certain episodes, I suppose make sense, but are hard to watch in hindsight. He's not cool, despite how much the show keeps insisting he is, and I think it doesn't help that we probably each have our own Doug in real life. Which, honestly, even though, yeah, sometimes it hits close to home, this doesn't take away from my enjoyment of certain characters or of Doug. And some of you in my comment section brought up the comparison between Doug and Squilliam Fancyson from SpongeBob, who is actually one of my favorite SpongeBob characters, but at least would say Squilliam. Squidward did get a win against him 98% of the time, and much of what Squilliam does is so cartoonishly over the top or evil that you can't help but find it funny. If anything, I also don't like this comparison. Doug kind of reminds me more of Carter, and I love Carter since, again, he's an over the top evil dude. I think a main reason Bertram worked so well was because, yeah, he was basically a clone of Stewie, but a more social version of him. Like, I really wish they brought Bertram back. I know he was killed off, but he was in a time travel episode. They could just pan wave it or something. And his VA probably was too busy or too expensive. Well, just recast him. You do it all the time. I mean, if you could hire Chris Parnell for a dozen episodes, I'm sure you could get somebody to replace Inconceivable Guy. Look, I get by Bertram being the most popular kid in class and an obstacle to Stewie, and I could see why Stewie does absolutely nothing to stop him beyond being like, oh, he's so cool.
Want to play 20 questions?
Is it a man?
Yes.
Is he famous?
Yes.
Is he under 40?
No.
Over 40?
Yes.
On television?
Yes.
On television now?
No.
Is it Richard Mulligan?
Yes.
And it sucks that Doug is here because I do love these episodes otherwise. I already told you, The Marrying Kind had one of my favorite Family Guy subplots ever, just because of how relatable it is for somebody who travels pretty often. And the Godfather episode is honestly pretty funny. I love Godfather parodies. But a lot of the time, it just feels like there's no reason for Doug to be there. That's why, like, to me, he comes off like a self-insert or an inside joke we're just not in on. I always say I want characters like Penelope or Bertram to come back, but if this is what they're gonna do, maybe they're better off in our memories. I do think one way they could have redeemed Doug was by giving him a bit of depth, like explaining why he feels the need to pick on Stewie in particular. And to their credit, they do try to do it a couple of times, but it's always the same song and dance, like Doug secretly respects Stewie or has a bad home life, which doesn't make up for what he did, or why does he still do it in spite of that? So it doesn't impact me, I hate to say. I'm just like, okay, you have a bad home life, so does Stewie, dude. Weirdly, I think one episode they could have given Doug some more depth was in Young Parent Trap. Since that episode had Peter and Lois get mistaken for younger parents, really? Those two are young? Oh, I guess you think Mel Brooks is a teenager. But it could have been a way to introduce them, since Doug always talks about them, and we do meet them later, but only for like a quick scene. Hey, they could have been like Dewey's parents going back to Moral Oral, where they act super young, and they neglect their son in the process, which could explain why Doug acts the way he does. Plus, one way they could have made Doug interesting, for lack of a better word, made him a familial conflict. So not only does Doug annoy Stewie, but maybe his parents annoy Lois and Peter, so they can be, like, united, I guess you could say. Going to another show, Bob's Burgers had Cynthia and Logan, and one way they made her interesting and her son interesting was by making it so Linda and Louise hated their respective counterparts.
Oh, why didn't you go fart in the phone booth?
All right, Lynn, calm down.
You tell this hussy to calm down.
Yeah, calm it, hussy.
Linda and Louise have little in common besides being stubborn, so it's really nice that this is probably the only time they actually get along or have plots together where it's not like, oh, Bobby, why doesn't Louise like me? Similarly, the Griffins rarely get involved in Stewie's drama. It's always him and Brian, so it would be cool if for once they hate Doug as much as him. Meg goes to college, thankfully starts going that route. Brian is out of shape because he can't outrun a squirrel.
What's going on? You okay?
This squirrel, man. Yeah, come down here and do it. Huh? Come down here.
Really? You can outrun a squirrel, dude? Really? Really? Are you even a dog if you can't outrun a squirrel? Like, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this, dude. Be a dog! And somebody needs to put that on a t-shirt. So Stewie tries to help him by making him work out. The thing is, Stewie is a pretty bad trainer, so Brian ends up cheating on him, not like that, Desiree, with Doug.
Doug? Ugh.
That's right, Stewie. It's an Doug moment. No hard feelings. I think Brian here just wants to rev up to a higher octane.
Really, dude? I mean, does olive juice mean nothing to you? Doug turns out to be a better trainer, but he knowingly rubs it in Stewie's face. Like, really, dude? What the hell do you care? I mean, Kitty, it's probably because unlike Stewie, Brian is at least paying Doug.
Anyway, you've been terrific, and I'm gonna keep at this, but I'm afraid this is goodbye.
What if I went down to $300 a week?
You're paying him? I'm sorry.
What? He's paying this dude over his best friend? You know, Brian, the next time I'm at the store and I find a container of extra virgin olive juice, I'm gonna crack it over your head. You and Doug. I'm gonna have to buy 2 in that case. To spare Stewie's feelings, Brian ends up firing Doug, thank goodness.
Hey, whoa, there's no need for that. Thank you for that, Brian. You're welcome, Stewie.
Honestly, though, it would be funny if they, locked the 2 of them in a room, because I could really see them not getting along. It'd be like the therapy box from iCarly. On the bright side, the whole family hates Doug, that whole thing I talked about, continues in LASIK instinct. Lois drops Stewie off at school, but doesn't look at where she's going, and she hits Doug. Which surprises me. I thought they were gonna do something like It's the Shell from Looney Tunes. Wow, I'm doing a lot of references this video. Where it turns out Doug was just doing this to get perks. But Stewie is actually proud of his mother for once.
Oh my god, it's a kid!
It's Doug! Nice hit! Oh, and Elsa underwear. This day just keeps getting better.
Of course, Doug's parents are pretty pissed that Lois struck their child with a car and pissed at each other. Ooh, drama.
Well, this is my weekend with Doug, but I've got tickets to see Lana Del Rey with our former nanny, Jessica. She's 24.
Admittedly, that's a pretty good dose of continuity for Family Guy. Mr. and Mrs. Doug, because I really don't think they ever give Doug a last name, tell Lois they'll drop a potential lawsuit on the condition that they build Doug a treehouse, which leads to the subplot of this episode.
Maybe this weekend you can put together a treehouse I don't want to deal with.
Fine, if that's what I have to do to make this right, then Peter and my children will build your son's treehouse.
Oh, it's gonna be like Drake and Josh, is it? Also, while we're talking about callbacks, this is the episode where Lois gets LASIK eye surgery but ends up going blind, so Peter reassures her being blind isn't so bad.
Don't worry, Lois. I went blind a while back. It was cool. They're some of the last people you can still make fun of.
Yeah, Lois, just be sure you don't wander into Chris's room in the middle of the night and all will be well, bruh. Of course, Lois can't build the treehouse, and what with being blind and all, and even if she wasn't, she probably wouldn't want to, so she gets Chris, Stewie, and Peter to do it for her, and also Brian. But again, one thing I like here is how they tried to make the point that everybody hates Doug, it's not just limited to Stewie. I do think it'd be cool to make it a familial conflict, like both families hate each other like they did with Into Fat Air, but what we got was fine. Doug makes the Griffins do chores for him that go beyond simply building him a treehouse, saying that if they don't comply, his parents will indeed sue them, like going to his baseball game, and yep, it's pathetic.
Ball one.
Doug, you are pathetic that Paul from Pokemon is just standing there like, no dude. You think you're so cool too, that's the sad part. What other needless crap do you need these random nobodies to do?
Bake cookies, listen to his Archer impression. This is ridiculous. We're not doing any of this.
I don't know. I kind of want to hear his Archer impression.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I don't know, I'd rather his Cyril impression, but that's just me and my brain. This starts getting to Stewie, who calls his bluff and gets Doug to reveal, yeah, he's a lying liar who lies and needs the attention, even though, none of them are really enjoying it either.
I don't have a dog or a brother. These past few days, I felt like I've had all that. I'm sorry, but I didn't know any other way to get you to spend time with me.
No, you didn't have to do that, but yeah, unfortunately, this becomes a pretty common theme in the Doug episodes. He'll act like a jerk to people, especially Stewie, and then pull the rug from underneath them and reveal, oh yeah, I just secretly like you, but my home life sucks, so I gotta act like a jerk. Which, I'd feel bad for him if it was only once, but not every single time. And honestly, I hate Doug, so this isn't giving me sympathy points. Boo, Doug!
I think you're a total garbage person.
Same.
And being nice to you goes against everything I stand for.
Same.
Okay, don't be the person who just says same like it's a real response.
Plus, considering how Doug is implied to be manipulative, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just lying out of his ass. Stewie decides they'll hate each other in public but not private, which later episodes do not go with, so I take this as just, again, Doug is screwing with the Griffins to get out of getting punished. 80s Guy explores them a bit more, where he spends most of his screen time trying to show up to Stewie.
Also, I've been on a Disney cruise. Hey, who's this in the picture with Moana? Oh, me? Huh.
Ooh, Disney cruises. I do them, but I hate children. And I also can't afford them.
Moana is famously agoraphobic.
Yes, but she's managing it day by day thanks to CBD oil. This cruise was a big step for her.
Wait a minute, Moana is agoraphobic? What movie did you watch? The whole point of the movie is Moana is like the opposite of agoraphobic. Like, if anything, she wanted to get the hell off that island, but the ocean was like, nah. Like, even her dad wanted her to stay. Also, Alan Tudyk's in that. Oh, in BGW, I met Moana at Epcot, so I got cool points over you, Doug. At the park, Stewie encounters Doug as his frisbee ends up atop the jungle gym.
Oh no!
You said it, relatively short first grader. That frisbee is way up there.
Wait, are they referencing sibling rivalry where Stewie took over the jungle gym only for Bertram to steal it back with chicken pox? Because I can totally get behind this.
You're just climbing a jungle gym. It's not a big deal.
Not a big deal. I pull this off, I go down in history. Like my ancestor, the guy who was hanged next to Nathan Hale.
Actually, funny story, I looked this up. Nathan Hale was not hanged next to anybody. He was hanged alone. They just hanged him by himself as a warning to others. Stewie goes to retrieve Doug's frisbee so he can look like a hero, and obviously Doug has to do it too, and this I do appreciate. This is what I feel they should have done with Doug. Made him more of a rival on Stewie's level. One that can actually challenge him. That can make Stewie say he's cool and really mean it as a form of villain respect. Because I like when villains respect each other. Not the most vanilla self-insert.
Hey, Stewie, a friendly race to the top in front of all these kids, plus the red-haired girl from the Charlie Brown cartoons?
Oh, I care about her opinion most of all.
Since Stewie gets to the top of the jungle gym, braving all kinds of trials, and he goes with Doug, but he and Doug end up trapped at the top. For Doug, there's a storm, and for Stewie, his leg gets caught, so it's a 127 hours thing going on.
We've got a flare.
I'm still stuck, but now I have confidence.
Taking shelter, Doug confesses that he acts like a jerk because much like how Stewie secretly respects and compares himself to him, yeah, Doug does the same thing. I kinda made my point already. Doug and Stewie come to an understanding, and Stewie agrees to give him the frisbee back, but as expected...
I won, everyone! I won! Other kids, Stewie lost, and he deserves our ridicule.
Stewie, push him off, he deserves it. You should do it atop the treehouse you had to build him. As hate is the best motivator, Stewie ends up getting freed, and they fight, but Stewie for some reason decides to save Doug from plummeting a whole 5 feet to his doom. Thankfully, Doug falls and decides, likely because he's scared straight, that he'll tell everybody they got the frisbee together.
Hey, gang! Gang! Here's your frisbee! Stewie and I got it together.
Yes, together.
Also, before we get to Doug's last appearance, I do want to briefly touch on the episode Brief Encounter, aka the one where Stewie and Doug reenact that train movie by Alfred Hitchcock, since I wish Doug was always this flavor of evil. See, Stewie gets the stuffed animal he doesn't really like anymore, but he just can't get rid of it for one reason or another. I guess considering that one episode where Brian tore up Rupert, he has bad memories. So he goes to Doug, and Doug says, yeah, I have a similar problem, and I'll kill yours if you kill mine. So Stewie goes to kill a stuffed animal, only to learn, oh my god, it's actually a cat.
I can't do it. I can't kill a cat. Unless you were in the movie musical with Rebel Wilson. I can't do it.
Doug, why would you want to kill a cat? Also, I'm surprised the cat doesn't talk or anything. Like, it's a cat, and I'm a cat too, so this kind of hurts. Stewie, of course, can't go through with it, so he gets Brian to help, and they end up killing the cat. And it turns out, yeah, Doug wanted him to do it so he could blackmail Stewie, and Stewie's totally on board with this when he finds out.
Yeah, that's cute. Can you send me that?
No.
I mean, at least you're fine with it. Even if, at the episode's end, they try to make it all okay by saying Doug has his own Doug.
Who is that?
That's Tyler. He's, kind of my Doug.
Boy, we all get a Doug, huh?
Yeah, I don't buy it one bit. What does having your own Doug do about the fact that you kill pets? Like, this is a serial killer in the making. Like, even Blue Harvest pointed it out. The candidate is Doug's last appearance, and boy, is it simply... Stewie decides that one day he wants to be mayor, not supreme leader of the world? Did you learn nothing from Lois Kill Stewie? But he starts small and decides to run for snack captain at school, which is apparently a highly coveted position.
This election is about the future of snack time.
I disagree. This election is about you.
Who is this guy? I love him.
The two pull all the ropes and tricks, but Doug is unfortunately more relatable to viewers. Do I even need to explain why? When things seem dire for Doug, Doug breaks out his ace in the hole. His what now?
The dark secret that I already suspected. Stewie Griffin was a whoops baby.
What the devil are you talking about?
Stewie Griffin was a mistake!
Aw, me too. Even if Doug was likely one too, considering these past episodes, so I don't think he's one to talk. Unless maybe he was like, this baby's gonna save our marriage kind of baby. Granted, the rest of the episode has nothing to do with Doug, it's just Stewie trying to discover if he really was a whoops baby, which he knows Peter and Lois, so really does he need to research this? He should know the answer by this point. But I think the writers realized they wrote themselves super weird pacing-wise, and nobody but them really liked Doug, so how do they write themselves out of this pickle-like corner? Well, Doug died off screen, totally.
Sleeps in one of the cubbies. I mean, that's the story I would have told this week, but whatever. Oh, and Doug died in a commuter plane crash this morning.
Is it just me, or do they do this pretty often considering Married with Cancer? Like, it's almost a running gag at this point. I mean, I'm happy because Doug is no more, but just, I feel the need to point it out. It really does suck, though. He felt like he could have had a lot of potential, but no. Really, I don't have an ending for this, so anyhow, bye.